In this video tutorial, I'm going to show you some differences between My Drive in Google Drive and Team Drives. So first of all, right now you can see I'm in My Drive. On the side right underneath it is the Team Drives. If I click, you can see it's kind of similar how things are set up. But definitely even just kind of visually looking at it, there's some differences. Like for example, here in Team Drives, you can see the list of all my Team Drives I'm subscribed to, and then the number of members that are part of it. Where in My Drive, what you can see is the name of all my folders and who owns those folders and the last date it was modified. If it's a single file, same kind of information, the name of the file, who owns it, and when it was last modified. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually dive into some of the items in My Drive and talk about what they are as I look at them. Then I'll go back to Team Drives. So for My Drive, kind of think of it as your personal storage space. My Drive works really well if you're going to collaborate with only one or two people, or if it's a place where you're storing things that only you will reference, whether that's lesson plans or worksheets or whatever. So I'm going to start by actually looking at the shared folder. You can see it's owned by another person. If I go into it, you're going to notice that there's other people who own certain folders or certain files. So that's where things in My Drive can get messy. Wherein if someone owns something who then leaves the school district, you can run into some of these funny things about who owns what and how do you get access to it, which is why Team Drives works better. Team Drive is designed more for groups of people, wherein no one owns anything in a Team Drive. So for example, if I go here and I'll go to this folder here, there's 3 members, and you can see the last modified date for the files, but there's no owner because everyone in the group in this case owns those files. So as people come and go, it makes things less messy. That said, I'm going to go back to My Drive and show you how to share a file or folder in case you're collaborating with one person or 2 people and you just want to quickly share it out and you don't want to do a Team Drive for whatever reason, or if it's something that you have in your drive that you want to just kind of share read-only. So I'll go down to, let's say, this document here. So if I'm on a document, I can go over and click on this little person with the plus sign in order to share it. So from there, I could put in the person's email address. You notice if I click on the pencil, it gives me more options. So if it's just one document, we're doing some quick edits, I can keep it on the Can Edit. Let's say it's a paper, I'm a student or I have a trusted colleague that I want some feedback on something. I can add the comment feature in. Or you could just do view, if it's an FYI informational thing, you don't want people changing the original, you can just click on Can View and they can look at it. You notice there's also an option here to get a shareable link. If I click on the shareable link, you notice I have here this drop down and there's all these other options. So you could have anyone with a link can edit, can comment, or can view. View is usually the default. In this case, because an institutional account is only people that are in this institution in OXU would have access to do any of these things. Unless I go down here to more, and you can see I have even more options. So for example, I could go to on anyone with a link, they don't even need to sign in, would have the option to view or edit or comment on this document. Now I would hesitate against setting it up so it's anyone with a link or public on the web with edit, because then literally anyone could get that link or forward that link and edit that document. So if it's something important, you probably want to share it with individual people, or if you're going to share the link with edit access, what I would recommend you do is after that you go back in and you turn off the editing. So I'm going to actually save that. Okay. So now anyone has edit access, and click done. And then if I go back up to the person, you can see here anyone with a link can edit. I'm going to actually turn that off. So you could temporarily share it just because you don't know people's addresses, and then you go back and turn it off after you get the feedback. For a folder, it's pretty much the same thing. So I can click on the person, shareable link, add addresses, or I can go in advanced, and again, I can have people view or edit and send it to them there. One thing you'll notice is that when you do send things, there's an option to notify people or not. So if they're right there and you don't want them to get a link, that's fine. You can add a message that goes with the link. The link is handy in that it'll go right to someone's inbox and they'll know the information shared with them. So not a bad thing to keep that checked. So let's actually take a look at team drives now. So for a team drive, it's a little bit different in that everyone who's part of the organization that's shared with that team drive has access. So again, I'm going to go to this OCTC team drive, which has 3 people. If I want to see the members, I could click here. It would show me who the members are. In this case, if I go down and then manage members, it'll show me those people. If I go back, I can go to edit and I can click here and add people's names or entire groups. So let's say I want to share this with everyone in Albany. I could do albany@oxu.org, and everyone who's part of that group, which in that case is everyone who works in the building, would have access. I want to click here and show you the different levels of access that you can grant individuals or groups. You can see by default it's on Content Manager. That lets people add new documents, edit existing documents, move documents around within the team drive, or delete files. But you can see there's other levels of access in there. You can have a contributor. A contributor could make new files and edit existing files, but they can't delete existing files, which, you know, in some cases maybe you want people who can add to things but not accidentally get rid of old copies. You can have a commentator, or a commenter, I mean, where people can just go in and add comments on the side, or people can view. The manager is kind of the grand poobah behind the team drive. In that account, you can not only do everything below the add, the edit, the move, delete, but you can also add new members and change settings in terms of what other people have access to. So my recommendation, if you're working with a fairly substantial group, a larger group, like maybe an entire staff or a larger department, that you pick 2 or 3 people who are the managers, who can add new members, change settings, and you have the bulk of your people as content managers. In some cases, you may have some staff that you only want to be contributors because you kind of want them to look at stuff. If they have stuff to add, they can, but you don't want them to delete stuff. So those are the different levels of access there. If you want to make a brand new team drive, I'll go back here to team drives. I click on new. It's a matter of naming this team drive. So I'll just call this my test drive. It's going to create my team drive, and from there I can go through and I can share it to whichever members you want. Now with a team drive, you can see here by default there's one member, which is me, and with this team drive I can add people who are either in my institution, so it could be OXU people, or people outside. So if you do want to share things without people outside of your drive, you can do that. It'll just kind of give you a message making sure that's what you really want to do when you click on send. So in a nutshell, that's kind of the differences between test drive and my drive.